Hello.
I don't have the music queued up, so
Welcome
that's the best I
viewers
can do.
to welcome viewers to this week's edition of NFL Live, the award-winning semi-weekly podcast. My name is Sage Bo, and I'll be your host today. With me is Neo
Hey guys, what's up? Fuck all you.
and
Nobody gonna follow that up, really? All right, go ahead.
Dactor's here too,
What's up, guys?
and LDO.
Hey guys.
So
Viewers, before we get started, I need to ask people the Shotbox poll. How much does Dactor sound like Sophos? Anyone who's actually heard Sophos' voice, go ahead and mention that in the Shotbox while we get the rest of the show started.
all right, so first little just voice warmer. We're gonna talk about who we think is the MVP for the season, who we're picking to win that award. So let's start off with LDO. Who do you think is going to be MVP this year?
Oh god. Okay. I'm gonna go with standard answer. I'm gonna go with Brian Brown, just because obviously
Cop out.
cop out answer. I know. Dolphins undefeated this year, and no surprise, it's largely due to Brian Brown. The elite this year as well defensively, so it just appears that no one really has an answer for the Dolphins. I think they've scored the most points and they've allowed the least points. So, you know, with a quarterback like Brian Brown who produces just such high production every year, you know, he's just carrying that team all the way to the playoffs, and I think they've probably got a really high chance of winning the Super Bowl. I don't think he's been thrown at as much this year with Marcus Barry there, but I'm probably completely wrong. But he's still put up absolutely insane numbers. I think he's got like the top QBR. He's thrown, I think, joint least interceptions for quarterbacks who qualify. He's just, he's mine. He's just running away with it, in my opinion.
All right, we're going to take it over to Actor now.
Well, for the sake of disagreeing, I guess, and giving a different answer, you could really look at like Chester Henson. Vardell really hasn't had as spectacular of a season as last year, and I think Henson has really like picked up the slack there. Like last season, I just saw that team as being more pass heavy, and this year Henson has a bigger role in making them a top tier offensive team, and it shows with the fact that he leads NFL HC running backs in touchdowns and is one of the top 3 in yards, and he also has a ridiculous yards per carry. It's going to be really close to 6 after today's game. Just unparalleled efficiency.
All right, now last but not least, well, actually, I'll go last. So Neo, you go ahead.
Well, again, for the sake of moving answers around, because my answer is going to be either, you know, Brian Brown or Chester Henson, but to give someone who's less heralded, I'll go ahead and mention Vaughn Abraham here, who's currently leading NFL HC in yards total by a pretty decent margin. He's got 1,438 yards, which is quite a bit more than the second place Chad Dess and Chester Henson, who's right behind him. He's tied for the NFL lead in 100-yard games. He's still over 5 yards per carry, and he's doing that on an offense that, again, everyone is playing the run against Dallas. You know, you can't play the run against Minnesota, or Brian Vardell will kill you. Sonny Beckett will kill you on that offense. In Dallas, I mean, what scares you other than their offensive line and Vaughn Abraham? I mean, you sell out against the run every week, and this guy's still leading the league in yards, almost up there in touchdowns, 100-yard games. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And now Kamau Davis is out the rest of the season, so he doesn't even have the semi-passable quarterback that was back there before. Nobody's a workhorse like Vaughn Abraham. Plus, go Tigers.
So for me, definitely Brian Brown would be my first choice. Chester Henson's up real close, but for the sake of just putting another name out there, I'm gonna go with Christian Skaggs of the Carolina Panthers. Like, he's not putting up the Skaggs numbers that we're used to, where he just throws for 5,000 yards a season, but he has an interception ratio of 0.91%. He has the highest completion rate of any starting quarterback in the league, and Carolina's on its way to its first playoff berth. Just as the season starts to wrap up, if Skaggs can just hold on to his early season form instead of what he's been doing in the past few weeks, he's up there as a top-tier MVP candidate. Now over to Thursday night football. We had the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns. And it was a close one, 28-27 Pittsburgh. What are you guys' thoughts? Off with Dactor this time. What did you think about the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game?
Well, Rob Corps had a pretty good game. He's been doing better than you might expect from a backup quarterback to Richard Ramos. So that's good for them. They'll still probably have to replace him, though, going on in the season. As for Ryan Clark's injury, which is obviously the main thing with this game, because, let's face it, the two teams are pretty irrelevant at this point, it'll really hurt them in the future because, it'll increase his liability of injury. And it just makes a really bad season that much worse. And then Engelberger for Pittsburgh had a pretty mediocre game. He's been way outplaying his rating this year, but that was a bit of a setback for him.
Yeah, gonna correct you on one short thing. He's Ontario Smith's backup, not Richard Ramos. Over to LDO. What did you think about Pittsburgh at Cleveland?
I think a lot's been mentioned. It was obviously a good win for Cleveland. Pittsburgh. I think Rob Cobb had a really good game, and I think that the pipe is really thirsty at the moment for ACL injuries. That's all I can say. Both in CFBHC and real life, it's just striking all over the place. So really good win for Pittsburgh. Obviously, it's building character, and it'll be really good for them moving forward into next season. I think Rob Cobb could stay their quarterback if they wanted to. I don't think they necessarily have to replace him. But we'll have to see. Obviously, it's his first season, so we'll see how he is moving forward, I think. But good win for Pittsburgh, and sorry for the Browns. Neil?
Yeah. Hashtag corporate takeover continues to make Steelers fans not worry too much about missing out on Pro Bowl quarterback Ontario Smith. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch this game. It's two pretty rough teams that have suffered from some injuries, and the AFC North curse is just getting pretty rough. 3 out of the 4 teams have lost their starting quarterbacks in the division, which is pretty wild. If we're including a game we'll discuss later today, obviously Pro Bowl quarterback Ontario Smith is out. He's been out for a few weeks. Ryan Clark goes down. What's going on in the AFC North? Do these guys need to hire new athletic trainers, or is training camp going too rough up there, or what is the deal here? I know it was raining, but this is getting kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, yeah. I think we need to take a look at a practice field or something. I think the conditions are...
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's pretty notorious for having a field that turns into a muddy pile of shit as soon as it starts raining. This was in Cleveland. I mean, something's got to give at some point. I also have to mention, really popular social media movement on the Browns is the Keys to Victory. but I'm not sure how many victories Derek Keys has the key to.
But how's that going to compare to hashtag corporate takeover?
It doesn't, because Rob Corp is shockingly delicious as a quarterback. They can't compare.
I'm the second. What everyone says, Rob Corp did well. Cleveland is really underperforming this season. Ryan Clark stepped in. And, I mean, he wasn't going to Williams level, but he was going to do well back to the playoffs, and this didn't happen.
Your voice is really
much else.
Your voice is really in and out right now, Sage.
I'm going to come in and come out. You guys want to talk about...
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
I mean, my voice may sound like a 13-year-old's, but at least you can hear it.
You sound like a 13-year-old Sophos, I'm just saying. Like, I can't get over that. That's unreal. In any case, I think the one bright spot for Cleveland in this game continues to be Ty Miller, and I guess Kadeem Martin as well on defense. So it's not totally hopeless. Cleveland has pieces, but yeah, they're like Sage Bo said, they're underperforming. It's didn't look great.
Yep. Quite a few people, I think, were doubting that Ty Miller would be good in NFL HC when he was drafted. I'm not sure why that was, because of the career he had at...
Well, I think I actually re-listened to a lot of the draft coverage in the last week or so. A lot of people were kind of worrying that he was a product of Ty Miller. He was a product of Norris Brookshire and Oklahoma's offense. I think he's definitely proven that that's not the case. I believe he leads rookie wide receivers in yardage, and Ryan Clark's not great. So I think Ty Miller's definitely making a name for himself now that he's out of the Brookshire shadow.
Yeah, I can understand that. Is Sage Bo? Yeah.
I think we lost him.
Yeah.
There he is. All right.
Is it okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Am I still in
Oh, now.
Alright. Yeah, it's the new.
Oh, there we
the
go.
internet's not
Oh,
nearly
okay,
as good
no.
as the last place. Anyways, Sunday morning games. St. Louis at Miami. We lost. It was a little bit disappointing, but these things happen. Both teams threw a lot as expected, but we held Miami to 27 points, so I'm pretty pleased with that result. What do you guys think of the game?
It's pretty impressive performance by St. Louis, especially on the road. If this was in St. Louis, in Missouri, I think they might have been able to pull this one off. St. Louis, despite their 5 losses, is a pretty good all-around team. There's not a whole lot of weaknesses. It's very well built. Most of the parts tend to perform. I'm not as big a believer as a lot of people in Sean Anderson at running back, but he's not terrible. One thing for sure that was big in this one is Walt Peck showed up. The big play Walt Peck came out, and he's kind of been in and off of the stat sheet, and some people have been wondering, is he falling off a little bit? What's the deal? Is it a contract issue with the Rams front office? But he rose to the level of the competition here. He showed out. 8 catches for 103 yards and a touchdown against a combination. A cornerback combination that the Dolphins have is no joke at all. I know Lauren Christensen had a interception near the end of the game, but that was sort of a last gasp attempt by the Rams. So I don't put that one on any of the receivers or on Darryl Murphy too much. Impressive showing, even in a loss by the Rams. But at some point, that's going to start costing them. They do have 5 losses. They've, it's a very competitive NFC right now. I don't think the Rams get into the playoffs unless they can win the division. They're a playoff caliber team, but there's too much competition in the rest of the NFC for those wild card spots.
Yeah.
We've got,
Yeah.
I mean, the
there's
NFC
a bunch
South
of
and the
8-win
NFC
teams.
North are both
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, and then the South and the North are nuts.
Well, like the big problem for them right now is that their schedule I would definitely consider harder than Seattle's at this point. Like going on throughout the rest of the season, they have to play Minnesota, Dallas, and then Seattle. But yeah, Dallas and Minnesota will both be tough games. As for the game itself today, I have to say I was actually pretty impressed with what St. Louis was able to do, because last year I remember once Gray Corbin went down, the defense kind of fell apart and gave up some pretty huge point totals to teams that they really shouldn't have. So I kind of expected the same thing here, especially with facing Brian Brown. But they really kept it together. I'm guessing Gerard Wilson, the backup, had a pretty decent game considering he was a 66 rating. So yeah.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Anybody else got a comment on this game?
Is LDO still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm not sure if I'm lagging. So.
You don't sound like you're lagging to me, but
Yeah, you sound good to me.
apparently I'm lagging, so what do I know?
Yeah, maybe we're all lagging. Who knows? I don't know what's happening.
Well, regardless,
Uh,
let's move on to
Yeah.
the next one.
we have Baltimore with the surprise defeat at Tennessee.
Dream Taylor just
me-
went absolutely off in this game. I don't know what the hell
He
happened.
did.
I want to point out right now, though, that Rome actually didn't get his game plan in. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Who did they play last? Do we know?
Ooh.
Sorry?
I
It
have the
looks as if
schedule here.
they defended against a run, I imagine. 'Cause John Harris didn't really have a...
Oh
played,
yeah, I think
Pittsburgh.
he left his. Yeah, you would play well. I don't know. With Pro Bowl quarterback Andre Smith, Ontario Smith in there, you'd definitely play the run. But I don't know. I can confirm. I have it from another source that he did not, in fact, get his game plan in until very late. So it's likely the team was not able to incorporate that for this this game at Tennessee.
Looks
Again,
like...
Kareem Taylor did go off. Booker T looked good. Tyrone Jones with the sack. But the big news, again, that I mentioned earlier, AFC North quarterbacks are dropping like flies, man. Baltimore's got a playoff spot locked up already. I mean, they're the only team in the AFC that has the division clinched or even a wild card spot or any playoff spot at all locked in. So this doesn't hurt them as much as it could. But the battle for the number 2 seed in the AFC just got a lot more interesting.
Another thing I want to say is that Tennessee has 2 Pro Bowl guys right now. That's their wide receiver Tommy Fury and inside linebacker Randy Humphries. These are 2 two pieces that this team can build around, and I think on a high note, they're going up against. They have Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Jacksonville, and right now I think all those games are winnable for the Titans. Do you think they make the
Who makes
Titans making the playoffs? It's not impossible because the AFC is shit. They would never. They would never make it in a real conference. But it's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you'd
not
have to count
impossible, but I
on,
consider
have to
it
count on
unlikely.
Oakland and the Jets at least dropping 2 games and then to get them in the conversation. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. But
All right, let's
they've
move on.
shown they've got some
Wait,
great pieces.
yeah.
Great pieces.
Let's go on to the shootout in Indianapolis. Cincinnati 24, the Colts 35. Blake Shell throws 50 times and doesn't get picked up. A miracle.
Still really, really
Yeah.
inefficient.
Yeah, unfortunately for Cincinnati, that wasn't enough because Tony Peaks decided he wanted to reward anyone who owns him in fantasy and score 3 fucking touchdowns. So, yeah, not a whole lot Cincinnati could do about that. They did trade away one of their best defensive linemen a while back in Baron Anthony. He might have been able to help out with that, but he's currently sacking quarterbacks in Baltimore. So, yeah, Cincinnati just does not have the horses to stop people on the ground right now.
Just looking at the stat sheet, though, I mean, since he had the better offensive line, had better punting, Blake Shell had more yards than Ryan Mitchell, Tony DeMarco led the receivers. Sevens had a pick 6, 5 tackles. Bill Kelly out of nowhere, 2 sacks, 3 tackles. It seems like statistically they won everything but the running game. Do you think this will be a problem, or will Buzz turn this sunk ship around?
I don't think
it's gonna be a
Buzz
problem.
is going to turn Jack around. I think Cincinnati is going to take a running back in the first 2 rounds in next year's draft and move along.
Buzz Echeverry has
Yeah.
a 3.86 yard per carry average.
Yeah, Buzz Echeverry is not very good, and I think that Blake Shell, honestly, I don't know. I don't think he's good enough to make it work with the West Coast style, so I don't see the rest of the season playing out well for Cincinnati.
Yeah, serious regression. Is this arguably the biggest regression we've seen Blake Shell last year to Blake Shell this year? Because last year he was absolutely fantastic with that new look Cincinnati offensive line, and this year he's pretty much been kind of garbo.
Yeah, I don't think Blake Shell is a guy like Nick Hall that can win games with his arm. I think Blake Shell is more of a game manager quarterback. He can make the throws, but he's not going to win with them. You know what I mean? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Honestly, this may have been Buzz's first rushing touchdown of the season. I can't even remember, but he's been terrible. All right, off that train wreck. Now, the Sacco Belt holders Philadelphia Eagles hosted San Diego, and I gotta say it was surprisingly close. I thought San Diego was really gonna blow this team out. What did you guys think of this game?
I think the equalizer here is that they were playing in the snow in Philadelphia, and a team like San Diego, who obviously is from San Diego, doesn't have a whole lot of experience with that, and I think that really showed. They couldn't get the usual traction that Sean Cole is normally attains in the running game, and I think that kind of threw him off a little bit.
What do you guys think of Ken Eller's play in this game? I mean, he had 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, but again, the play wasn't like very efficient as far as like yards per attempt.
I think it's good for a rookie.
I think it's
honestly.
good. I think it's good for a snow game.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
know-
too.
Was it a snow game?
And frankly, I'm not gonna lie. I've never been shy about expressing how I feel about Ken Eller. I love Ken Eller. We were literally one pick in the last draft away from taking him as our backup quarterback. Philadelphia literally took him the pick before we were on the clock. So we took Mike Thomas of USC instead. But Ken Eller is the guy I had targeted from early in the draft process as a guy we really liked at quarterback. I think he's been up and down, but at the same time he's playing on an expansion team that doesn't have great weapons or offensive line or anything. So I think he's been playing pretty well, if I'm being honest.
I think a good real-life comparison to Ken Eller would be a guy like Zach Mettenberger last year. He didn't win any games, but he looked good. He made the throws. I shitted on Ken Eller pretty hard earlier this season, but I really like him now, where he's been for the past 3 weeks. I don't think he's thrown an interception in at least 2 weeks, which is a really good sign for rookies. Yeah, I like Ken Eller. I think Philadelphia should stay with him next season.
See,
He's playing at a
now
much higher level than you think a 74 rated player would. He's
Sagebo somehow made me like Ken Eller even more by comparing him to Zach Mettenberger.
Go Tigers.
Now, Neo, New Orleans against Atlanta. How do you think your team did?
Devereaux forever.
I loved it. I'm pretty sure that Devereaux, yeah, he didn't play great, but I'm pretty sure that people are starting to play the pass against us because they're terrified of Neil before Zod just crushing their souls. And he's clearly not all of it completely there yet as far as, taking the reins against a team that's looking for the pass. But and on top of that, David Wilburn is in Atlanta. R.C. Roan is in Atlanta. They're the bane of our existence every year, every game. So you know what? I'll take the win. I like the way our defense played. Jeremy Miller stepping up, we only allowed 14 points on offense because Wilburn did his Wilburn impression. It's a win, and now we lead the NFC South.
Can I ask you if you're concerned at all that Kevin Richards? Well, I mean, he had a good game. Are you concerned that he won't be able to pick up the slack though if Devereaux continues to struggle like this?
Well, he's done it so far, despite all his injuries. It's something we're considering, but I mean, 24 carries, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Are you guys thinking about putting Sean Jenkins at the number 1 receiver spot, at the top target?
People have made more out of that than it is. We've actually bounced Sean Jenkins around between the number 1 and number 2 spots several times. He's produced at both spots, so we're not altogether concerned about it. He's on the field. He's on the field regardless. Yeah, he's on the field regardless.
So was he matching up against Wilburn this week, or was Greg Newman?
Honestly, we bounced him around so much, I'd have to go back and look.
Either way,
I'm pretty certain he was on the second guy.
Okay. Either way, I think we could say that Devereaux to Sean Jenkins has had better days than this day, but Jenkins is a touchdown machine. That guy just gets in the end zone. He's something special, and I love him.
He leads all rookie receivers in touchdowns, and he has 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games. So we're feeling pretty good about that pick.
He was out for 4 games, which is the craziest part.
Yeah, he's got like insane yard per catch as well. I think he's got like 17 yards per catch as well, which is
right.
Good yard.
LDU to your home country. We had Detroit taking on Carolina in the rain.
I haven't looked at this game, so I have to apologize. Oh wow,
It's cancer.
Really low scoring game.
Yeah, this game was garbo.
Mike, I guess the thing to take away from this is that Mike Latta probably
he's got to be the player of the game.
Yeah, he had a really great game.
He had a Mike Latta-esque game. I think the Limeys are probably asking for their money back in this one. They were promised a shootout of 2 high-scoring offenses that from two 8-win teams, 2 of the best teams in the NFC, and they dropped that on the field. That's It's not as bad as it looks. It's not as if it was just a touch. It's not as if it was just all field goals, but still, it wasn't pretty by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Kicks, safeties, and missed field goals.
Yeah, I think Carolina secondary just sort of had Rob LeCount in the pocket, which doesn't usually happen that often. Rob LeCount usually has very efficient games. He's sort of he's shown that since he joined the league, and in his college career, he's usually been pretty efficient. But this game, he was figured out, and Carolina, I think, just controlled the tempo probably more than anything.
I mean, like if you look at the interceptions, the safety, they were all against Detroit. That's probably what really had like the biggest impact in this game. That and LeCount having just a mediocre game. But
I mean, look at it. It's LeCount actually didn't really have that bad of a game, other than the interceptions. But I mean, look at the rushing totals. LDO, you mentioned that Carolina just controlled the game. I mean, you could definitely tell that happened. Mike Latta, 21 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. He was very effective. And then Elvis Williams, who's a good back, but 16 carries for 70 yards, no scores. I mean, in a sloppy game like this, you gotta put it on. You got to be able to put it on the ground a little more effectively than that, because a lot of times your passing game is not going to get traction. In the rain, precipitation is going to make the ball slick. Things are going to happen. One of those interceptions was, went through a guy's hands and got bounced up in the air. Normally that would have been caught. Things like that happen in a sloppy game like this. But when you can't run the ball in that situation, that kind of puts you at a disadvantage.
Something I want to bring up before we move on is Gary Faneca. What are your guys' thoughts on him? Personally, I know when I think of the big, scary receivers in the league, it's Walt Peck and Dan Nomolini. Those guys have been neck and neck every season. Nomolini leads in yards receiving every year. Peck has led in touchdowns, I believe, every year. And I just feel like Faneca's the man left out. He's had a good season so far, 9 touchdowns, 100+ yards. But I don't know. I always expect more out of him than he actually does.
He's a guy who he floats around in the top receiver discussion, but I always felt like Detroit was a team that they always threw the ball a lot, but they didn't have a quarterback that necessarily would be the guy. And then they trade for LeCount. Somehow they get him from New England. I'm still not 100% sure how that whole thing went down.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But Faneca's numbers haven't really boomed the way I expected them to, I guess. So, I mean, I think you have to have him up there in the top couple of receivers discussion, but he's clearly not in the top 3. Maybe, you might have him somewhere. I feel like he's a top 10 receiver, but not a top 3 and not a top 5.
Yeah, he doesn't really get mentioned at all. I think he's just, it's like he just gets ignored sometimes. I'm not sure. I think it's probably because when you speak about Detroit, you're always speaking about the defense, and we're not used to talking about them on offense. I'd say that's probably a reason, but
that's ironic because they have star power on defense, but the defense isn't really good. But you're 100% right about that. You hear Detroit and you think about Keyshawn Thompson, you think about Earl Jackson, making plays on the inside of the defensive line. Their defense really isn't that good.
It's 2 guys. That's their entire defense.
They have some decent linebackers, but
anyway, those 2 guys are really
this year. This year, the defense has been really good. I think it's top 5 for pass yards allowed, but Keyshawn's probably been doing most of that himself because the surrounding cast really isn't that good. I think the best secondary player after Keyshawn is Keith Farr, the safety, but yeah, they've got really low passing yards allowed total. So Keyshawn's just destroying this year, I think. Doing his thing.
All right, on to the other NFC North clash. Chicago having a sunny day in Minnesota.
Wow.
Norris Brookshire was a really good game.
Yeah.
She's really good against a team like Minnesota, who have some good secondary players like Darren Manning and Darren Manning. That's the only guy I know.
It surprised me that
the world's tallest, strong safety, Darren Manning.
Slender man, Darren Manning.
Slender man.
Seriously,
he's like 6'4", 177 or something.
Yeah, he's lanky.
He's like the world's twiggiest strong safety. But he makes, you got to hand it to him. He apparently makes plays. That 50-yard interception return for a touchdown. You don't really expect to see a guy who's 6'4" on defense going 50 yards for the touchdown. That's not something you see every day.
You know what they say? Tennessee makes good, strong safeties.
That is what they say.
That's what they say, but I mean, I don't know. Larry Holloman.
Let's not talk about Larry Holloman. Let's move on.
Norris Brookshire pretty much, I feel, outdueled Brian Vardell. He beat him in efficiency, beat him in yards. There's just that pick in the fourth quarter, but that can be understandable. Chester Henson showing why he's a top-tier MVP candidate. He steamrolled. What was his yards per carry today? 8.25 yards per carry.
I think him and Vardell together just had a really good combination game. Like, Vardell didn't have a bad game. I mean, you say that Brookshire outdueled him, and maybe that's fair, but I don't think it was by a lot.
Well, I think it's by a lot when you consider the help that.
That's true.
The quality of players on Minnesota's roster versus on Chicago's roster, that just makes what Norris Brookshire did even more insanely awesome.
When you look at these numbers as well, I think you need to factor in that Chicago has like the second worst defense after Kansas City.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're better than Kansas City, but they still allow a lot of points per game. I think they're the only teams that on average give up more than 30 points a game. So a good established team like Minnesota, I think it was expected that they'd probably run away with it. But they kept it close until the fourth quarter, and then the Chicago defense just Chicago'd, I guess.
Yeah, they just kind of fell apart. But when you can only hold up against Chester Henson for so long, they just didn't have the horses.
Q-Train had more receiving yards than any of Minnesota's receivers tonight or today. That's blowing my mind. Q-Train, the dual threat weapon.
Well, what happens is you have those screen passes, and he's deceptively good with those. He's not, frankly, he's not a very good running back. That game I refuse to talk about. Besides, but you get a very aggressive defense like Minnesota's. Guys like Cleveland Merrill. They're a kind of defense that wants to boss you around. They want to dictate the terms of the game. And one of the ways you counter that, especially in nice sunny conditions like this without rain or snow or anything like that, is you set up a screen game, and that's pretty much how it's a pretty effective counter, at least early on. But it'll eventually quality just catches up to you here.
Yep.
So Sonny Beckett, probably the consensus number 2, number 3 receiver in this draft behind Sean Jenkins. How do you guys think he's turning out in his rookie year?
I think he looks great.
Yeah.
Early on, our plan, if the Bills hadn't fucked us, we would have looked at grabbing a certain defensive end, cough Ortiz, cough, at number 4, and then looked at Sonny Beckett later on with our first round pick. That was the plan early. It's kind of vindicating to see him doing as well as he is. There was a lot of question whether he'd be a very boom or bust kind of guy. I think obviously he's got a great quarterback in Brian Vardell getting him the ball, but I think he's definitely vindicating the side who rated him as the 3rd wide receiver behind Sean Jenkins and Ty Miller rather than having him lower than that, which I know some people did.
I mean, he had a crazy amount of hype from everyone coming out of the combine, just because he had such insane like speed and everything.
Yeah, his yards per catch though, like I'd been eyeing him for like a calendar year. His yards per catch he led college football in yards per catch 2 years in a row with like 19 yards per catch. I mean, just freaking insane.
Yeah.
Nuts.
He'd probably perform even better this year, but it appears that Brian Bardell does distribute the ball quite a lot. Him, because Sonny Beckett and Mark Walker both have very similar stats. Beckett has more touchdowns, but they both have around about the same amount of yards. So it appears that ball gets thrown around quite a bit.
Okay, so we're going to go into the prediction part of the show. So for the 4 o'clock slate, first game is Washington Redskins at Oakland. Who do you guys think and why? Doctor, start off with you.
Oh God. Without having looked too much into this game, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Oakland. I think they really are a better team than what their record shows this year, and they'll prove it if it needs to even be proved against the Redskins. And while I think the Redskins have had a pretty good season as an expansion team, mostly because of that one trade that we shall not mention, I just don't think they're on par with Oakland, like, at all. Especially not at Oakland.
I think
Let me mention who Washington's cornerbacks are for this game. There's Michael Barber, the rookie out of Florida State, a 79 rating, and Henry Muhammad, who is a 77 after 3 years in the league. And then you look at the ridiculous receivers that the Oakland Raiders are bringing, to town, with Nick Hall throwing to them. I mean, good Lord, Mike Triplett leads the NFL in pretty much every stat, and then Marvin White is not that far behind him. I mean, I frankly, I just don't know how Washington is going to stop the Nick Hall show here.
Yeah.
And that's not even bringing up Brian Gary, who is nobody talks about, but he's pretty damn good at tight end for Oakland.
I gotta say, I think this has the potential to be a shootout. Washington actually has a really good quarterback in Javier Fields. He might not have the weapons like Nick Hall does, but I'm not super impressed with Oakland's defense this year either. So I think this can go into like the 30s, but I also think Oakland will win just because Mike Triplett is so clutch. That guy's amazing. Now for a pretty interesting undercard battle, we have the New York Giants at Denver. New York's been poor at the beginning of the season, but ever since starting #Weenie Roast, they've picked up 2 wins. And do you guys think they can pick up another win at Denver?
I mean, it's entirely possible. Pick up a win at Denver.
Mm-hmm.
The lesser team could play probably, but Denver's got some solid play since we brought in Darren Werner, maybe. I think.
Yeah, Darren Werner's still
Yeah.
the quarterback.
Darren Werner's actually been pretty damn solid. I think his QBR is 110 and he's performed pretty well. So I think obviously Denver's weakness at the moment is at the running back position. But I'm not sure why Jerry Rambo has fallen off like he has, but there we go. So I think if the Giants key in on Darren Werner, they probably have a really good shot at winning the game.
I think this game will be pretty interesting just because Denver's very weak up front on defense. I mean, very, very weak. And New York, obviously, with Dick Cook under center and Sterling Brown behind him, they're going to want to run the ball. So I think that game will be very interesting. I think it'll be very close. And, I'm still not going to go with the Giants because Darren Werner is a lot better than Dick Cook, and I trust him to get it done.
I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna say Giants win 3-9. Dick Cook is like NFL Tim Tebow. He just wins games, and I like Tim Tebow.
Does
Also,
no. You are Tim Tebow, but I'm not sold on Dick Cook as Tim Tebow. I don't know that he just wins games because the Giants are still a 2-win team.
I mean, he kind of looks like NFL Tim Tebow, really, because he hasn't been amazing. He's been pretty.
Who did the Giants win against, though? The Giants have won against previously undefeated San Diego, and then took out Dallas last week. I think they have what it takes to bring out.
Okay, they took out. Okay,
yeah, I think they can definitely beat the Broncos.
Slow your roll here, all right? Dallas lost because Kamau Davis is injured and out for the season. All right, let's. All right, Skip.
Hey, maybe.
Come on, let's not go Skip Bayless here before I have to make a rap video about you.
Maybe how Tim Tebow worships God, Dick Cook worships the pipe, and Darren Werner goes down. We see Jerry Rambo go down.
A guy named Dick worshiping a penis-shaped object. How creative of you.
So, Kamau-less Dallas taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Will they throw the ball at all?
I'm not sure how their backup fared when he came in.
Yeah, I forget. Hold on.
This is an interesting one because Jimmy Starks, the former Ole Miss Rebel. This is going to be an interesting one because Dallas would crush Kansas City if they were still capable of passing the ball whatsoever. But that's a real question.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously going to put a heavy load on Von Abraham because they always do anyway, and everyone knows that. It was Jimmy Starks who came in. He hasn't been... Yeah, he wasn't very impressive. He's not as efficient as Kamau.
Of course not.
I reckon they'll increase...
Yeah.
I imagine they'll probably increase Abraham's workload if that's even possible. I know that Kamau only threw like 15 times average on a game or something like that. But,
I mean, if Jimmy Starks throws like 3 passes, that's probably too many.
But it is the Kansas City secondary, guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
but Kansas City at least has they have passable safeties.
Yeah, I mean, would you risk putting Jimmy Starks out there and him shouldering the load after one game?
Oh, absolutely not.
When you have Abraham.
I need a play.
No, but I don't know that you have to like just ram it down their throats constantly. I mean, this is the Kansas City secondary we're talking about.
You ram it. All right, you throw Abraham.
You cram it. You cram it down.
I mean, more than usual. You know what I mean?
Guys, look at Kansas City's defensive line. All right, they've got Terry Patton, who's not the worst thing in the world, but the other starting defensive end is the 69 rated Jason Johnson, and then their defensive tackles. They're running a 4-3. The defensive tackles are a 74 and a 69 against Dallas's Von Abraham and their insane offensive line.
I just looked at the.
How do you not hand it off to Von Abraham like 40 times?
Oh man.
Well, I just looked at
the rushing yards against this season, and Kansas City have the least rushing yards against, but that's not because they're good. Everyone's throwing against them.
Corners.
That number will probably change after today.
What they should do is put Von Abraham at quarterback, and then just get him to do a wildcat or something, and then that'd be good.
I would absolutely put Von Abraham at wildcat before I would trust Jimmy Starks to win this game for me. This is going to be very interesting because, frankly, I actually really like Kansas City on offense. Thomas Wheeler is fantastic. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They have a couple of decent running backs. Cap Christian is kind of, had a resurgence of his career after that disaster disastrous rookie season with the Giants. Hines Mertens, of course, is the greatest number 2 wide receiver in the league because of his choice of schooling. And their offensive line's not the end of the world. This is going to really be. This might be the most interesting game of the 4:00 hour. I'm not going to lie. I'm really looking forward to how this one turns out.
Really, over Denver and
Oh, absolutely.
over Denver and New York.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree
Definitely.
with Neo. Just the things in play for Dallas against Kansas City. It could be really interesting. So, Dactor, your Patriots travel to the West Coast to take out Seattle Seahawks. Fuck Matt Cowan. How do you think you'll do?
We gon' die.
No, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me.
we gonna die.
Give me some false hope here. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, I think in this game, Lawyer Johnson's obviously going against a really good secondary. I think it's second only to Miami's this season. I think he's going to struggle quite a bit.
Yeah, I think like 3 or 4 of New England's starters are former Saints. I'm pretty sure they're going to get wrecked because they're like the number 1 running back is our former backup. The number 1 wide receiver is our former backup. The number 1 tight end, I'm pretty sure, is one of our former backups. Seattle just has it. I mean, there's not a whole lot of other ways to say they just have it. I mean,
yeah, they're just a better team.
Yeah, there's holes on the team, but they just have it.
Yeah, they're a very solid
New
team.
England does.
I mean, I would say that I would be kind of happy with a loss, except for the fact that we don't have a first-round pick. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's not going to be too fun.
That's pretty crazy.
It's always fun to see what the Patriots do leading up to draft or in the draft. It's usually pretty entertaining.
Well, I mean, I'll try to hold Azul in check this year.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think the Patriots have some nice pieces, especially on defense. Obviously, Andre Brooks, the first thing that anybody ever talks about with the Patriots. Mark Logan. But this team is a great offseason or a couple of good off seasons away from getting back to where they were and competing for being that top 3 team in the AFC type squad. Seattle is a team on the rise. They play in the NFC, so they're naturally superior. And you got Seattle as a team that's they've got momentum and they're trying to charge for this playoff spot and hold off the St. Louis Rams. So I think Seattle's going to get it done without too much of a problem.
Yeah, I think, and I mean Seattle. It is kind of important that they win this game, just because it would give them a really hard to lead over St. Louis in the divisional standings. Yeah, so I think they'll really come out and play, and I don't think it'll go well for us.
No, I'm gonna root for the Patriots. Andre Brooks is gonna take out Xander Williams. Lawyer Johnson.
I mean, we put bounties on him. We're trying to feed the pipe too.
Please, Lawyer Johnson's gonna throw for 500 yards and 50 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Matt Cohen, know what hit him?
Is this a list of things that will never happen ever?
Dishes.
Now
I hear it in the background.
Dean's
I
dishes.
told you my mic is sensitive.
No, but I literally heard the word dishes, so of course I had to mention that.
Well, is there another?
Okay.
The final game in the 4 p.m. slate is probably the closest game. It's Buffalo taking on San Francisco 49ers. These are about 2 mid-tier teams. They're average. They're good though. So who do you guys think comes away with this?
Jak oni získají.
Throw
This is
just
an-
go first.
This is another pretty interesting game. I hate to say it because obviously, fuck Buffalo, but for the things I mentioned earlier, but I like the way they're putting together this squad. I did not think that Erasmus McCready would be a good NFL quarterback, and he's proving me wrong. Obviously, their offense runs through Chad Dess, who's having a pretty good year as the workhorse back. Really, Buffalo's a team that's getting it done on defense and doing just enough on offense to be one of the better expansion teams. San Francisco kind of went the opposite. They started on the quarterback, and at the skill positions they've got guys like Kevin Branch, huge speed receiver, and then they just started building the line this year. So they kind of went the opposite way that Buffalo is going as far as building the team. So it's a little bit of opposing styles here. San Francisco's a flashier team that's trying to get that edge, and Buffalo's very much a grinding team that's trying to add some more flash. So it'll be interesting. I do think that that Buffalo does take this one though.
Yeah, I
Even
agree
on
with
the
that.
road.
I do as well, yeah. And I hope so, since the 49ers are in our division.
I too am going with Buffalo. Buffalo's already beaten the Rams and the Seahawks, and I think they go on to take out the 49ers. They do well against the NFC West. What can we say?
The NFC West is really dropping the banner of
Cardinals
the
beat 'em.
NFC right now. You guys gotta pick this shit up. You're embarrassing.
Hey,
the
at
rest
least
of
we're
the
the only.
conference.
We're the only with no one under 500, so get on our level.
You're also the only ones that have yet to even have an 8-win team yet. But moving on.
I mean, you guys can talk
yeah,
about the
you
NFC
can
all
say
you want, but an AFC team is going to win the Super Bowl, so.
Well, I mean,
God damn it, he's right.
yeah.
See, the thing is, though, you don't realize the way this works is the actual champion of the league is whoever goes to the Super Bowl to play against Saluna. So it's you don't even include
Oh,
them.
yeah.
They've ascended to a new level. They're gonna be moved on to the God tier league after this. So actually, the real champion is inevitably going to be an NFC team.
I like that logic, yeah. I'm going to go with that as well.
There you go.
Okay,
Hayden
Sunday night
Kazmano.
we have LDO's. Sunday night we have LDO's Cardinals taking on the Jets. LDO, how do you think your team will do?
Should have probably come prepared for this question. shouldn't I?
I have a question. I have a question while you're prepping.
Okay.
Former Arizona Wildcat All-American fullback Michael Behrens is not starting at that position for the Cardinals. Can you explain this?
So which player did you say?
Your backup fullback should be your starting fullback.
Let me have a look.
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I leave all these decisions to my coach,
I'm speaking.
Tamif. So,
Oh, that's
Yeah,
it. That's it. There you go.
it'd probably be directed to my coach. I was busy this week on
Spread the
on my
blame.
yacht, sort of sunbathing. So, this week I was actually really busy. So I haven't had much time to look at our fixture this week. But I know that Tamif did
Sorry.
get a game plan in.
All right, I'll
Obviously,
save you the trouble. I'm picking the Jets.
Wait. Oh yeah, okay. I completely misread the. I completely misread the fixture. I thought we were playing the Texans. Yeah, that's bad of me. Obviously, I hope we can win. More than anything, really, I just want Jerris Jones to carry on where he's sort of picked up the last few games. He's had a few good games in a row, so it'd be nice to see Jerris put up another good performance since it's going into the back stretch of the year. Really want to see Jerris do well. I think we can win. I think we've played some good teams pretty close this year, and I think we're kind of just figuring things out still, but maybe a bit too much beating the Jets, but any given Sunday. So here's hoping.
I'm gonna say the Cardinals win.
Oh yeah.
And
Really?
yeah, I really think so. I think that Weggert is going to struggle. That's a pretty generic thing to say, but I think the Cardinals will just sneak this one away. It'll be something like 21-17, but I think the Cardinals have this.
You think Weggert is going to
Of course,
struggle
I'm wrong.
against the secondary of Arizona, though?
I do think Weggert's going to struggle. They're pretty. I think they outplay their rating.
I just have to remember that my
You definitely outplayed their rating last week when they
I'm
upset Carolina. Thanks again for that, by the way, LDO. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Our secondary has actually held up pretty well this season. In terms of like passing yards allowed, they haven't given up loads, but I'm not sure if that's just because people have been rushing. No, actually no. We don't have. Yeah, the defense has been pretty good actually. It hasn't been flashy, but hasn't given up the most points. It's actually roundabouts identical to New Orleans. Kind of, in terms of points allowed and stuff. We'll see. This season for me was all about getting the kind of core of the team together. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jarius Jones could be in for a good day, depending on if he doesn't get destroyed by Elvis Brum. If he can avoid that, I think he's in for I think he's in for a pretty good day.
The face when you forget Elvis Brum plays for the
Yeah, he's not a joke, not at all. But yeah, I think if Jarius Jones doesn't like lose an arm to Elvis Brum, I think he could be in for a pretty good day against the Jets secondary, which other than John Queen hasn't been amazing. And I mean, not that John Queen's been amazing, but you know, yeah, we'll see.
Jacobs brings up
Jets,
a good point. Back in college, when Eric Weggert played against Jarius Jones, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
We lost you there.
Keep that going.
Yeah.
Who did Weggert play
Anyways,
for? Wisconsin, was it?
Weggert played in
Weggert
Wisconsin,
was
and
Wisconsin.
Jarius played for Iowa.
Yeah.
So, Monday Night Football. Anyone have the back ready? No? Alright. Bum 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 bum.
Wow.
Houston taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dactor, how do you think your former employers will do?
I mean, I think honestly they'll win. I can't give a scientific reasoning behind that. I just think they kind of will. They've been doing well lately, winning 4 of their last 5 games. They've really started playing more to what's expected of them and more to their rating. And yeah, I think they'll continue that. Xander has been doing really well as the replacement coach, and I don't think they have a very good shot at winning the division at this point, but I think they'll finish the season pretty strong.
I would have to agree. I like the Harold Simmons air raid style. It's at least entertaining for the fans after a pretty rough season.
They went away
Ricky
from that
Byard
last
has
week,
been
though.
really. Oh, they did.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ricky Byard has been really
Thank God.
phenomenal ever since coming back in.
Yeah.
It's just It's Jacksonville. It's Alan Taylor. I have to go with the Jags. Alan Taylor is just really, really good.
Yep. He is really good, yeah. Probably the only scrambling QB I like who can throw the probably him and Taylor Hayden, the only two I like who throw the ball, who are both scramblers, unless I'm missing someone really obvious, which is probably entirely possible. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jags. I really like Alan Taylor, and I think the Jags feel like one of those teams who can probably have one of the biggest upset potential factors, like in NFL HC. Just because if Alan Taylor has a good game, then
I think they're the biggest boom or bust prospect because their offense entirely consists of Alan Taylor, and if he inevitably gets injured, then they have nothing on that side of the ball at all going for them. I mean, that team, that is the closest thing to a one-man team that exists in NFL HC right now. I mean, if you look at their roster, it is really Alan Taylor and not a whole lot else. And if you look at Houston's defense, they're pretty good. I'm gonna pick the Texans in this one to upset the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are gonna probably still win this division and go to the playoffs by default. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the upset here.
Since
all
we
the
forgot to
NFC
do this
teams
earlier,
take Jaguars because they're gonna go to the playoffs with a 6-5 current record. There's all these teams with 9 wins just sort of staring at them like, you bastard.
Yeah, there's gonna be like 11-win teams in the NFC that don't go to the playoffs, and the Jags are gonna be like 8-8, winning their division.
these things happen.
It's like a real life
we haven't
NFC
talked about
South.
them. Oh man.
Hey man, it was like 1 year, and the NFC West was worse than that for a long time and didn't fix it. So, man.
Since I forgot to earlier, let's talk about the teams on bye. Tampa Bay, 9-3 this season. Taylor Hayden's been the man. They have good role players on defense. Do you guys think they're as formidable as they were early on this season when they went on that ridiculous undefeated streak? Or do you think there's some chinks in their armor now?
No, because we beat them last week, and we have them coming up at home in like two weeks. So looking forward to that one. If we beat them, we more or less are in the driver's seat to win the division. So that'll be interesting. For sure.
I'd have to say there's some luck in you guys beating them though. It was like a Sean Jenkins 110-yard kickoff return with 2 minutes remaining.
True, but at the same time, again, that was on the road. They have to come into the Superdome with our 100 fan approval rating. So I think that'll tip the scales a little bit more in our favor.
Yeah,
Again, it could go either way, but I'm looking forward to it. It's not a game that I'm expecting us to get blown out in. It's going to be good either way. But they're definitely more vulnerable now than they were, to start off the season when they had this mystique about them, and people were wondering, like it was before the season. I mean, people were kind of thinking they would be like okay, but not good, and miss the playoffs. And then they went on that run. I think what did they start off like 8-0 before they lost, or like was it 7-0 or something like that? And they had this mystique about them, like, oh my God, they're so good. Taylor Hayden is so good. James Otera's like blowing it up after he got traded from Miami. Ooh. Which, by the way, on point, Saluna mentioned during draft coverage that he thought Otero was still good, but he probably needed a scrambling quarterback to reach his full potential, which is why he made the trade with Tampa for Marcus Berry, and Marcus Berry and James Otero switched between Tampa and Miami, and that trade has worked out for both sides really well. So just a little throwback there to something that's kind of worked out pretty well for both squads.
I like Tampa a lot. They're like
And that's what I'll
the
say on
Cinderella of the league. Blitz doesn't really talk ever, And when
Ever.
Tampa does well, I think a lot of us support them, just because it's like a team out of nowhere playing really well. Then on the other side, we have Green Bay. All three members are really active. They're storming through the league, 10-2. Big money plays to get Dan Nomolini in the fold. They're leading the NFC North, which might be the most difficult division we've ever seen. Do you guys think they entered the NFC at the number 1 spot? Or entered the playoffs?
Probably at this point. I mean, I don't see anybody topping them really. Of course, obviously, there's a bunch of teams bunched up at the top, and they literally are the number 1 seed right now because when we went up there to Green Bay, they injured Sean Jenkins in overtime and caused him to fumble. Otherwise, you could argue that the Saints might actually be the number 1 seed right now in the NFC. Cough, cough, cough. But yeah, Green Bay is Green Bay is a great team. The trade, obviously last year they were not good. They made the trade for Dan Nomolini. They put all their eggs in that basket, hoping he was not a product of Skaggs, and that Jason Johnson would, get back to. He'd kind of been like steadily declining a little bit in people's minds, from he's a top 3 quarterback to top 5, all right, top 10. He kind of been going downhill a little bit, but they add a huge weapon like Nomolini, and Jason Johnson bounces back in a big way on offense. And it's worked out. So I feel like they're gonna.
Do we think that Johnson's improvement then is because of Nomolini, or do we think that he's improved quite a bit as well?
I think it's some of both. I think anytime there's 2 levels of really good quarterbacks. There's guys who can make great receivers out of average players, and I think there's only really 2 guys in the league who are at that level. There's Brian Brown and there's Christian Skaggs, and then you've got another level of quarterbacks who are still like elite. They're still top tier quarterbacks, but they're not quite at that transcendent level of those first 2. I think Jason Johnson is in that. I think if you provide him with weapons, he's going to stay in that top tier, but he can't do it by himself. He can't put a team on his back completely.
Yeah,
that's my assessment anyway.
I think also because they traded away Chad Dess, they've had to rely on Jason Johnson more, and just by having more opportunities, he's put up better stats.
Yeah, I mean, Chad Dess, I've always really liked Chad Dess. He's not really anything spectacular at all, but he's who I think of as sort of like the workhorse back in the league. Turns out he's like 6'1". I think he's like 240 pounds or something stupid. He's like fullback size.
He's kind of basically Eddie Lacy, I think.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Basically just hammers away with defense. And I liked him, but I don't think. Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously
now
he's stepped up during a contract year, Jason Johnson, so probably want to keep him around.
Now over to some fillers, since we have about 15 minutes before the next game of slates go out. Let's go with the question number 2. We're going to skip question number 1. Question number 2, which team will get the first pick in the 2018 draft, and who do you think they should take? I'll start off. I think at the end of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles will end up with the number 1 pick. And because I gushed about Ken Eller earlier, I don't think they should take Ken Eller. I think they should look the other way to a guy like Patrick Murphy out of Minnesota. That guy's a freak. He's probably my choice for the best defender in this class. He shows up regularly every week. He's won countless Player of the Week awards for the Big Ten. He's gotten a couple of national nominations. I think he's the best defensive player in this class, and that's where, if the Eagles end up with number 1, I think that's what they go with.
Okay, that's fair, but I would question the idea of positional value there. I don't think that I don't know that a linebacker number 1 overall Hall makes the most sense just because of positional value. Some people might disagree with that, and to my knowledge, the way I feel about it is, if you think he's the best player, then why not take him there? But for me, I think the Bears will be the number 1 overall pick. Norris Busher's picking it up, so that choice is definitely kind of in danger, but I'm going to stick with it. And I think they address their biggest need, which is on defense. Will Hall, the cornerback out of USC, he is an all-world type guy. He's a zone-covered corner. He's a little short and stocky at 224 pounds and only 5'10", but he makes plays. I've played against him every year that he's been a player, and it has been an absolute nightmare. Let me tell you, he's ridiculous. Please, for the love of God, I have USC next week at the University of Arizona. It's actually in Los Angeles, and I'm really not looking forward to it. If someone could draft him right now so I wouldn't have to play him, that would be great.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Will Hall at number 1 if the Bears are there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Will Hall to the Bears at number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Second defensive player ever drafted first overall.
Plus, just by virtue of me not having a first-round pick, I haven't been looking the closest at who might be taking the top 5 picks or whatever. Yeah.
I think whoever's picking first overall, I think we're going to see another trade. I think there's going to be one team who really wants to move up for a certain someone, whether that's Aaron Shea or Will Hall or whatever. I think the Bears or Eagles or whoever end up first would get a really nice price for the first pick, based on especially how we saw with all the teams now in the league, how the draft kind of falls off quality-wise. I think it's smart to trade up for an elite player. So I could see someone trading up and taking the top pick, but I don't know. If I was going to pick, yeah, it's probably going to be Will Hall for value. Important position.
I almost like Teddy Walker more than Will Hall, and that might be due to playing in the SEC and seeing Teddy Walker just destroy teams with interceptions, pick sixes, shutting out guys. I think Teddy Walker might be the best man corner to enter the league in at least a few years, and I don't know. I'm not super sold on Will Hall. Will Hall has made Player of the Week nominations once so far this season. I think Teddy Walker's made it twice.
I missed that memo. I was not aware that he even declared.
Let's see.
That's how out of the loop.
Yeah, well, the Will Hall versus Teddy Walker debate can go on, but like I said, Will Hall's been doing it for years. This year is the first that really Teddy Walker's burst onto the scene that I've been aware of, at least.
Teddy's had some hype around him. He came in as a 3 out of 5.
Okay, all right. I stand corrected.
I think I don't know about his previous year's numbers, but I know he's a guy that McGill's relied on for a while. I think in my mind, he's the number 1 cornerback in this class. I know Will Hall's rated at a point higher, but just with the man zone thing, I think man guys are a bit more valued in the league. So it really depends on where Storm and Darman are thinking, but
as so often it could come down to combines, as we've seen. That may be something to look out for.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's all just pretty raw speculation until we see the combine stats.
Who knows? Maybe Will Hall will, have high injury risk and he'll fall to the Dolphins at 32 overall.
Oh god!
I can assure you that if Will Hall gets injury risk and falls, he will not make it to the Dolphins because the Saints would take him.
Yeah. I'm sure
the
Dolphins will still get someone ridiculous this year. As we always do.
That will definitely happen, but it is what it is.
Players just seem to go to Miami and, I don't know, take a sip of gob juice or something and just turn it.
How about like freaking Laurent Christensen going to Miami when Saluna is like a zone corner guy and he didn't even like the pick when he made it.
Yeah.
And of course the guy is just, he's being predictably as good as everyone expected.
Yeah.
God,
That was
LC.
the funny part. When
That's just-
I remember Saluna saying, like, I don't really like him that much. I don't think he's that good. He's turned out to be
Like, are you fucking kidding? Everyone is just losing it. Oh, God.
And Justin Davis is just chilling there as well. Because he fell to them somehow.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Just
God, why are we
Dolphins
so bad at
fans.
drafting, guys?
I don't know. Aaron Shea falls to the Dolphins and Saluna takes them.
Saluna trades
Brings in a
Brian
new
Brown
era.
for like 4 first-round picks, has a new ridiculous quarterback on a rookie contract, and never has to like pay Brian Brown the $100 million a year. So he never gets in salary cap issues, and he kills us all.
Exactly.
And then
Hashtag your Saluna,
Brian Brown will actually start like falling apart once he gets to a new team. Like his high injury risk.
he's getting older, so his knees are giving out.
There we go.
First game, he actually gets signed by Cincinnati, and the first game he tears his ACL.
First snap of a game, he injures his like C2 vertebrae, like career-ending injury.
He gets sacked by somebody and breaks his hip. Career-ending. God, that would suck so much. Okay, sorry. Moving on to a new topic.
Yeah.
Filler
this is too
question 3. Filler question 3. Possible final early declarations that your team would be interested in.
Now, to be more specific,
I'm going to start by
is this guys who have not yet declared, or is this guys who've already declared that your
not yet
team
declared.
would be?
Not yet declared.
Okay, all right.
Just random collegiate guys you guys are pretty hyped up about. I'll start off. Dactors, David Medley. That guy is 6'7", 300 plus pounds. He's a god tier defensive tackle, and he might not put up the stats, but he's going to clog up holes. He might be the best nose
I
tackle.
would be real hesitant. I would be real hesitant to take him unless I was running a 3-4 and wanted a nose tackle for exactly the reason you mentioned, that he doesn't put up numbers. So he's not like a Jeremy Miller type. He's not going to be that 4-3 under tackle. He's going to rush the passer for you. He's definitely fits the mold of the 3-4 guy. So we wouldn't consider him on the Saints, but I can see why you'd want to.
I think I know my answer. And it probably won't happen because he's a 4.5 and I think only Vaughn Abraham has come out early, or did he not come out early? I can't remember, but maybe
He came out early as a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah,
And he was like
Lauren
a 4
Christensen
out of
did it.
5.
But basically, Adrian Jankowski, the wide receiver from Texas A&M, he has always put up really nice numbers. I remember when who was it? Texas A&M double, maybe. I can't remember who used to be my GM at the Broncos, but Adrian Jankowski.
Double.
Who I've always really liked. He probably won't, obviously, because he's 4.5, but he's someone who has always interested me. Adrian Jankowski, wide receiver.
Oh, Jumbo with a question for the panel. Dark horses to make the Super Bowl. Dark horse, I mean...
The Dolphins.
God damn, I was about to say.
Before this week, I would have said the Ravens, but the Ravens got smacked down pretty hard by the Titans this week. Maybe...
If anything, I think the Ravens are more of a dark horse now.
I don't even know if they could qualify much as a dark horse before. They were like the number 2 before.
Darker horse?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Darker
say
horse.
the Seahawks because
Ooh.
they have a really, really good secondary. So they're like one of the only teams I can think of who could maybe neutralize Brian Brown and maybe keep it close. So maybe for Faceford, I don't know. I like the
Yeah.
Seahawks. I think they have potential, but
I think Seattle is a great pick. I was going to say, literally,
Yeah.
you could pick any team with 7 or more wins in the, or 7 to 8 plus wins in the NFC, and you could just jump on them. But Seattle's a really great pick. Their offense is kind of shady. Like, you don't quite know if they've got the offensive production, but they've got so much star power on defense. They tend to win. I think they've won all of their divisional games so far. All of their losses are outside the division, but that's not going to last.
Yeah, we'll take him down next time we see him. I don't know how much that'll matter though.
I don't know about that.
NFC wise, I might go with Carolina. Carolina, they have Skaggs. They looked really good early on in the season. They've had some surprise losses lately, like to the Cardinals and such. And I think they're third right now in the NFC South. But
They're
with
third
Skaggs at the
currently.
helm,
They do still have a
third
game
and
against
9-4.
Tampa. They do still have a game against Tampa coming up, so they could potentially knock the Bucks out of the way and edge their way into the playoffs as a wild card. And if the Saints and the Bucks lose, Carolina could still win the division. So I mean, it's pretty much tied up. The top 3 teams in the NFC South all have 9 wins at this point, barring the until the 4:00 games. So you never know.
Yeah, if the Panthers are a wild card, they're terrifying. They'll build some momentum up,
Definitely.
get into a good run.
Yeah, they're a team that you do not want to play right now.
still
Yeah, I
can't
mean,
do
I
how
think
we-
in
how we
general
beat
there's a
them.
lot of parity in the NFC, and so the playoffs will be a bit of a bloodbath there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with my dark horse to be a little bit different. I'll say Minnesota. I think they're going to get in as a wild card. They just got spanked by Detroit, but I think that was more of an aberration than the rule. I know that of the games the Saints have coming up, Minnesota is probably the one that scares me the most because of their balance on offense. You can't swing one way or another on defending the pass or the run against them. They can beat you either way, and that balance is always, a balanced team is a hard team to prepare for. So that always makes me kind of nervous. So I'm going to go with Minnesota, as much as they can be a dark horse as a 9-win team.
Yeah.
Everyone's a dark horse compared to Miami, let's face it.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Maybe like a big dark horse. Who knows? Maybe the Raiders. Who knows? Just because Nick Hall is kind of crazy sometimes, he can get things done. I don't think it's likely, but they have such a good offense.
Got some more
Like,
early
super passing
declarations
offense.
coming up in a few minutes.
Oh really? Oh God. Oh no.
I
Okay.
Here we go.
don't think any quarterbacks will declare. I think this is
Do you
a
guys?
really,
Okay.
really good class of quarterbacks.
If David Medley,
I don't
declares,
think LeSure
I'm pretty sure
or
he
Tolkien.
will. I'm gonna die a little inside. Die a
David
lot
Medley.
inside.
I'll take him. Don't worry. I'll take care of it.
I'll take good care.
David
want
Medley's been
I want my
disappointing
D line
this
next year to be a reality.
The Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
season. Where is David? I can't even find David Medley on the stat sheet.
Yeah, he has not a
That's-
great season so far.
He's
but,
never had a great season. That's the only thing. I mean,
That's true.
unless he's one of those players who will just blow up when when he's surrounded by better players or something. Yeah, he's just really been really disappointing.
Yeah. Richard Gonzalez has actually had a really good season so far, gone kind of under the radar.
David Medley so far this year has 32 tackles and 1 sack,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
that's not bad.
I mean, it's pretty
bad.
fucking garbage.
I mean, it's pretty good for a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
It's not amazing, but it's pretty good.
He's Noel Jackson.
No, I mean
No.
he's second. He's second in the country, I believe, in tackles for. Or no, sorry, third in tackles in the country for defensive tackles.
Yeah. It might also have something to do with the schemes that I run. I don't know. It could.
Nope, he's fifth. Still, he's not fifth by very much. It's pretty good.
I mean, it could be that it's because he's having to do a lot himself. Maybe he doesn't have.
I can see
Richard
that.
Gonzalez is on the line though, and
Oh, well,
he's
yeah,
got
true.
8 sacks.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
David
but
Medley
Medley's
confirmed by Colorado coach.
David Medley's like taking up space so that Richard can go get those sacks.
That's what I'm thinking.
Occupying blockers.
Maybe true. I mean,
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
we'll see.
He
Like I
went-
said, maybe
actually-
I'm just-
Medley
Maybe I'm
has
just
2
3-4
sacks this
or a
season, by the way.
4-3.
That's just not updated yet. Medley has
Okay.
a sack.
All right.
I might just be really unrealistic in my expectations of defensive tackles. with
Because of
sacks,
Jeremy Miller, yeah, I know he's
spoiled
amazing.
by Jeremy Miller and L. Jackson, but I think there was a lot of hype of David Medley when Rome first signed him. I think he was probably one of the first really hyped.
He was that hyped because of Rome, though.
Yeah.
Rome probably spent more time hyping David Medley than I have seen anybody hype any college player in the history of CFBHC, except for maybe maybe Man Bear Pig at Maryland. He's gotten a lot of hype. Oh, sorry, no, of course, Slinky with Keyshawn. When Keyshawn was at Michigan State, he got an unprecedented amount of hype. But yeah, Medley's been up there for getting hype.
Yeah.
In
I mean,
fact,
Jumanji makes a good point. We have had a really tough schedule, so we faced a lot of really good offensive lines, just in general.
yes. I'm just tallying all his sacks through season. So,
I really hope he doesn't declare. That would be amazing if he didn't.
No, I think it'd be great if he declared,
Yeah, I would like.
especially if he went in the first round and pushed a player that we wanted down to us.
I'd
in his-
rather just
in
have
his
him in
freshman
Colorado.
season, he had 5 sacks.
I mean, plus then he's going to weaken Colorado next year, which is good for me because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be nearly as good next year as I am this year. So
David Medley
I
had
mean,
a really
every
good
little
freshman
thing helps.
season.
I want to make a run.
I wasn't aware that he had
He
5
did, and
sacks
then Rome.
in his freshman season.
He had a really good freshman season, and then Rome had the gall to be disappointed. I remember that Rome was disappointed with David Medley's first season.
It's insane. 5 sacks, for a defensive tackle, that's better.
That's fantastic.
If he was getting 5 sacks every season, then I'd say pretty successful. But yeah, he's gone from 5, and then he had 1 the following season. He's had 1 this season as well. But it may just be the fact that he is the proto nose tackle. He kind of just eats space and lets other people, do their thing.
So,
I think
so
we're
guys,
on a
games
4-3 though.
Games are up.
We have game.
So let's take a quick 20 seconds to look through them and react, and then we'll talk about them one by one.
All right, sounds good.
Oh!
Oh man, I've been finalist too.
Cough! Wow! The
Wow, yeah.
game I thought was the most interesting did turn out to be the most interesting in my opinion.
Holy shit! Oh my god, what an amazing slate of games!
Wow! All right.
Seattle, what the fuck are you doing?
What? Seattle do wrong?
What the hell?
Look at Lawyer Johnson. All right, never mind. I'm
Okay.
never-
No. Okay, let's start with this game. We're starting with this game now.
All right.
Yeah.
New England
Oh
at
my
Seattle.
Wow.
Holy shit!
I literally went
Lawyer
out.
fucking Johnson.
I endorsed your secondary so much, Seattle. Why
Oh
did
my
you have to do
God.
this to me?
Oh
My
my
God.
God.
I asked.
Victor, how did you do it?
What's that?
How did you do it?
How did you do it?
Well, I asked Sleuth to challenge their secondary because I wanted to see what Lawyer Johnson could do, and I expected it to turn out a lot more poorly than it did.
You were hypnol Matt Cowan's Gatorade, didn't you? I know what you did. That's what you did.
We deflated
You're a
the
bad person.
footballs.
New England you guys somehow dominated the passing game on both sides of the ball. Lawyer Johnson went off, and then Andre Brooks and Mark Logan both came up with sacks.
Oh man, that's insane. Lawyer Johnson. Oh man.
And this game was in Seattle. This was in Seattle.
Insane.
That is a huge upset. A 2-win team walks into Seattle in what's got to be like a playoff environment and just blows them up.
Wow, that changes things quite a bit.
Yeah, like even in my wildest
Somebody
dreams,
got
this didn't
torched
happen.
here. Tom Grant and Lawyer
should have
Johnson
had,
torched somebody. It's either Corey Quinn or it's Matt Cohen. Either way, holy crap.
Don't they run a zone?
Yeah, they were on the
I
zone.
mean,
Yeah, they do. Both
So
of their
confused.
corners are zone guys.
I'm just really confused. And but Jumanji saying he's overrated. I mean, based on the stats, I mean, they're second lowest in passing yards allowed. So I mean, they are a good pass
This
defense team.
is...
I don't know
I mean-
what happened.
Well, okay.
Wow.
Sometimes things just
Maybe
happen.
Lawyer Johnson is just really good.
You find
Well,
Ah,
I mean, this game he was.
we'll see. Maybe later.
All right, that's enough about the crazy game. Let's start at the top. We have Washington at Oakland. Oakland wins, but it was a high-scoring game. Adrian Allen returned a 96-yard kickoff return. That's highlight play. I mean, pretty much lived to our expectation, though. Nick Hall was going to throw the ball. Both teams would score.
Ooh,
Chester
Chester Rembos with a
Oh.
nasty injury.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
the
just
thing about it
rolled
is,
out.
though, who really gives a shit? I mean,
He's
Oakland
been
could,
very, very
Oakland
mediocre.
could not. Oakland could just not run the ball at all whatsoever, and their offense would not change. I mean,
That is
they
true.
ran the ball like
I mean,
3
for the
times
sake
a few
of
weeks ago.
for the sake of stability,
It doesn't really matter who's carrying the ball there.
I mean, it is Dick Lilly now, though. Are we really going to trust Dick Lilly?
no,
he
not with a name
might
like
be
that.
even worse than Chester.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
I mean,
I mean, it's gonna just be the same Nick Hall show that they would have been anyways. It's just gonna have
Exactly. I don't think
slightly
it-
less support at
I
running
don't think
back.
it really matters.
Yeah,
I don't think it
honestly,
matters.
it's pretty irrelevant.
We'll move on to the next game. Dick, literally Tim Tebow Cook. 45-28, New York Giants.
4 of 8. Okay, he was 4 of 8. They did not win this game because they cooked his shit. They won this game because Sterling Brown went off. Okay.
Wait, did Denver not run the ball?
Sterling Brown.
Wait,
No,
guys,
no, no,
Denver
no,
not
no,
run the ball?
Robert.
Blowout operation came in, and then Robert Rodriguez.
Guys, what's up with the stat line in that
I don't know.
game?
There's something really
It's
weird about
because-
that.
No, because by the end of the second quarter, I think the Giants had gotten to blowout procedure, so they put Robert Rodriguez in at running back, and
But
he.
Denver should still have somebody on the rushing stats.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
should. Yeah.
Yeah, they
There's
have
no-
I think the Giants do like a triple option or a spread option too. So
Oh
they
yeah,
were
the
both splitting carries.
Giants.
Well,
are
Jerry
running a
Rambo
triple
had
option.
Maybe
Jerry Rambo
maybe
had
they
two
had like the
touchdown
top 3 rushers.
No, Jerry Rambo had 2 touchdowns though.
Oh yeah, then it's just a just
Yeah,
look
it's
it
just
up.
an error.
I'm sure
Okay,
Selena
let's
will
just
get to it.
ignore it then.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
The
I
score,
called this. Who else called this?
Dick, literally Tim Tebow Cook.
I mean,
I'm speechless.
I'm not that surprised at all. I think
I'm fairly surprised.
I don't think Denver is a very good team, and I think New
I
York
didn't
is
see-
a lot better than 2-9.
The score is really confusing me.
I wonder if Denver just didn't play
Oh,
the
no.
run.
No, it's not. I'm just being an idiot. Never mind.
I
I
mean,
didn't see them putting up
suppose it's
45
possible.
points, but these things happen.
yeah, it happens.
Yeah, everyone gets free.
Yeah, I'm pretty
kicks
shocked.
for
I'm
these
pretty
numbers.
shocked that New York put up 45 points points with Dick Cook. I mean, that blows my mind. I'm not gonna lie. I'm shocked.
It was all rushing though. I mean, 6 touchdowns on the ground. That's insane.
Let's move on
Yeah,
to
that is dominance.
let's move on to the Jimmy Starks show.
Really good performance.
Yeah, Dallas 35, Kansas City 31, but it wasn't all Von Abraham. It was a pretty big surprise to me.
Yeah, they actually went more balanced with Jimmy Starks than they've been with Kamau Davis. and it worked out for them because Kansas City has no corners.
I told you guys. Let Jimmy Starks do a little something, something, you know?
Because it's Kansas, is that what we're saying? Or because
Pretty much. Yeah, it's Kansas City. You gotta pass the ball a little bit. You just have to. I mean, their pass defense is just unreal in how bad it is.
It reminds me. Never mind.
If I was gonna watch a game, I would have watched this one. I mean, again, this is probably, to me, this is the most interesting game of the day before, and it still was after. I mean, it went off. It was kind of fantastic. This is the kind of game that you want to watch. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much else to say about it. Y'all pretty much summed it up. Thomas Wheeler went off again, but it's not that surprising. He does what he does. Cap Christian continues to foil the Giants' opinion of him receiving passes from Wheeler. They clearly have no problem with each other, and they have no lack of chemistry. One thing is, look at we see, let's see, 20 passes are accounted for on the stat sheet. So we're missing 23 receptions by Kansas City players. I'd be really interested to know who those went to. Obviously, some stuff gets left off of the stat boards every week, but more than half of the receptions are not here. So I'd be interested to see who Kansas City's been spreading the ball out to like that.
Yeah.
Especially against this Dallas defense. But yeah, applause to Jimmy Starks for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not really that hard to throw against Kansas City, though.
We'll go to the last game.
Yeah, but it's still Jimmy Starks.
Let's go to the last game of the slate before we call it a day. Buffalo Bills, the NFC West Killers, take down San Francisco 13-10. Pretty highly contested game. Anything super notable? I thought Todd Lester had a good performance, but
this went pretty much how I think all of us called it. Hard-nosed game, and that's exactly the way Buffalo wanted it to be. Lester had a respectable game, but he couldn't get any traction going on the ground, and he's definitely at his best when he can
Richard Kelly
bust off some bigger runs.
49ers center is out for the season with an ACL injury as well.
the pipe.
Pipe is...
Yeah, the pipe strikes
Yeah.
again, man.
That's tough as well, losing your center. That's pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy.
Yeah, one thing.
Yeah. Oh, early declarations.
What?
Oh, early declarations.
Boom.
We'll look at that and then call it a day. Early declarations. Who's new?
Okay.
Who's new?
Updated.
Oh, thank God. Is that the last one?
Oh, Kevin Wynn out of Marshall. That guy's an animal. Oh my God. I really like Kevin Wynn.
Wait, is this
And,
the last early declarations?
There's one more round.
There's one more. Oh God, David Medley. I'll give you a Ferrari.
Kevin Wynn, though.
So we've got
you guys,
blatant,
do you guys know anything about
blatant
Kevin Wynn?
violations of NCAA rules here.
So Kevin Wynn has been nominated several times. Strong safety out of Marshall. I think he's a 4.5, 4.5.
I'm really worried about his size, though, after what's happened with Gray Corbin.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
too worried. That guy has put up much better stats than Gray Corbin ever did in college. Yeah,
Greg
Kevin Wynn
Corbin's issue hasn't been that he hasn't been good, though. He's been very good. It's just the fact that he gets injured.
I mean, sure, maybe Kevin Wynn's a bit on the small side, but that guy, needs to be on a roster somewhere. He's got good talent. I don't know anything about Eugene Jackson, but
I mean, he really is just the strong safety version of Greg Corbin, then, as far as talent and injury proneness.
Yeah, I'd be more worried about a strong safety that needs to put on weight than a free safety that needs to put on weight.
Exactly, because strong safeties, they have to be able to make hits.
Strong safeties
I'm not sure if Greg Cobbin's size is a reason he gets injured, but that's the only thing I can think of. I'm sure that he didn't have elevated. I don't think he had elevated injury risk.
It makes logical sense.
No,
he didn't.
But it does make sense.
Because I mean, you don't really like the idea of a guy who's 160 pounds like laying the wood on people.
Exactly.
Trying to like take try to take.
One thing that's good is they're fast. They would be, they're really quick, but they'd be able to move around the field probably very quickly. But I don't know about that.
I mean, can you imagine?
One thing. I think people aren't thinking about it because I think they're scared of taking tight ends early after the debacle with the Ravens. But this is a hell of a tight end class we've got coming in. And Eugene Jackson declaring early just makes it even deeper. There are going to be like 80-plus tight ends available in round 3.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I mean, can you imagine Kevin Wynn trying to tackle Chad Dess in the open field?
Chad Dess has like 80 pounds on him. Chad Dess could probably pick him up and carry him with the ball into the end zone like 4 yards downfield. That would terrify me.
I wouldn't go after it.
I mean, hey, if the guy makes plays, but I mean, it's legitimate to be scared off by his size, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're bringing up a good point. He's a 4.5 out of 5, and he's an 80. So.
Oh, so his potential's not
really
even
good, guys.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the Rams can take him and have the world's lightest pair of safeties.
If we didn't already have Brandon Sauter, I might. And even though we have Brandon Sauter, I still might. So.
I've wagered that both your safeties are probably way up to like one of your linemen.
Yeah, you have
probably
offensive linemen who would outweigh both your safeties combined.
All right, so
320 pounds is possible.
Let's wrap up the show. Do you guys have any final statements, or are we good?
I'm glad the Seahawks lost.
I'm glad the Seahawks lost too. I'm glad Lawyer Johnson proved himself to me as a potential high-level quarterback.
Dick fucking
I am glad the Seahawks
what happened in Denver today? What the hell, Broncos? Come on, man! What was going on there? I don't know about that anymore, guys. Yikes! Oh, here we go. Jerry Rambo's stats are now put in: 16 carries for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good day for Jerry Rambo, despite the loss, the horrible loss. Everybody in the rushing stats, all 4 players had 2 touchdowns. Okay, I'm done talking about this game. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for a good slate of games. Thanks for everyone for listening in. Special thanks to Dr. Neo and LDO for showing up today. And we will see you later on the award-winning semi-weekly podcast, NFL Live.
Can I ask what award we won?
Calling it?
None of them. We just won the award. I just made it up. Okay, bye.
Yeah.